Al, do you remember what was like a few weeks ago when we got cooperative and talked about Resident Evil?
Mm-hmm.
What if we got even more cooperative and talked about more games that are cooperative based that
Yay!
we played in a cooperative sense?
In a cooperative manner.
We're co-op.
Co-op.
That's it. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Season Anime Checkup OVA. It's episode number 89. It's a podcast, obviously, but it's where we talk about things like video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium,
Hello.
and we're going to talk about some games we played cooperatively that are kind of old from the last generation of consoles.
Yeah, pretty old. Sorry.
So what better way to spend your time than by playing some games that were re-released and also were cheap.
Mega cheap.
That's a big bonus.
That's a big selling factor.
That is a big selling factor. So yeah, we recently played through, at the same time we were playing through Resident Evil 6, we played through Dead Rising 2, a game that came out like in like 2010 on the 360 and PS3. And then just a little bit ago, we played through Saints Row 4, another game that came out on the 360 and PS3 a little bit later in the life cycle, because I believe that was around the time when it was right before the new consoles were coming out. And it was that weird, awkward in-between stage where you could really tell games were pushing the limits of the current hardware, but if you went to, like, the PC ports of them, they looked night and day better on the PC side. And I believe this was one of those. At least I think it also was, like, a performance thing where the game ran better on PC than it did on 360 and PS3. But yeah, we played some cooperative games, and we're going to talk to you about them.
We are.
Because we like to talk about cooperative stuff.
I mean, usually both of us are pretty single-player focused human beings.
It's true.
And yes, I did say human beings.
We are real human beings.
We are real human beings. But both of us tend to go really, really single player. And so us doing cooperative games was a fun and exciting experience because, for one, it's hilarious to play these kinds of games with you because we get into all kinds of crazy shenanigans. And usually either there's a soundtrack built in like Saints Row, or I would provide my own soundtrack, such as with Dead Rising.
Yeah. It's all fun all around.
So it's just good times. And plus, like, give me a game where I can wear the most ridiculous outfits and I'm set. I'm ready to go. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a minute.
So yeah, which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's go in the order that we played them.
All right. Let's talk about some Dead Rising 2. The sequel to Dead Rising. There's a bunch of zombies.
Lots of zombies.
A lot of zombies. Of course, this is, like I said, the sequel to Dead Rising, the 360 launch game, or around that time. Notorious for having very tiny text that you couldn't see on a standard definition screen.
Oh god, it was awful.
But at the time, that game was like mind-blowing because, like, here's a game where there's a bunch of characters on screen and you have to wade through them and fight them and all that sort of stuff. And then Dead Rising 2, the sequel, makes it a little bit bigger in scope, where it's not like you're in just a single mall, you're in this like little
town, basically.
Yeah, like a little town, kind of, something like that. There's multiple malls, casinos, all sorts of stuff to find and explore. And also there's a butt ton of zombies.
So many zombies.
And of course, the great thing about that game is that you can play the entirety of it in co-op.
Yep.
Which is what we did. The only downside to that is that basically your items would never save because you were the co-op partner. And that was a little bit of a bummer because every time we'd have to come in and we had to resuit you back up because nothing would carry over from playthrough to playthrough.
Yeah, the only thing that would carry over were levels and outfits.
Yeah. Which I mean, that's at least something that's good, because it would have been a bummer if he came in every time and was like, "Oh, I'm level 1 again."
Yeah,
Great.
that would suck. But it also led to like some weird things. Like I didn't get certain trophies because my playthroughs weren't consistent.
Yeah.
Like there was one that was like kill 10 of these kinds of people, and you got that one because your gameplay saved, but mine didn't. Mine counted as a new rollover each time, so I
Right.
didn't get that one. So that's lame.
It's a bummer.
It is.
But I mean, other than that, everything worked pretty fine, all things
Mhm.
considered. Being able to drop in, drop out whenever, just having another person around to help make the game a little bit easier. Like we only had to re-roll one time, I think,
Yeah.
because it was like, oh god, we are woefully unprepared for this fight. And then after that, we pretty much had like a good game plan and strategy of like, okay, we need a set of like the nail baseball bats for like just carry around with us, for whatever we need, and because like, they're so easy to make and everything, and they're pretty powerful regardless. And then
Yeah.
after that, we were just like we cruised through the rest of that game.
Certain enemies need guns, and then always have snacks on us.
Always get them snacks.
Just down the coffee creamer.
The coffee creamer OP.
Yep, and orange juice.
Coffee creamer orange juice combo. Because who doesn't want to just drink a bunch of orange juice and then down some coffee creamer right after that?
I mean, I would drink the orange juice, but maybe not down coffee creamer right after. But he can do him.
But yeah, we got into a lot of fun shenanigans in that game, because obviously one of the fun features of that game is that you're in this big shopping areas essentially, and there's a butt ton of stores everywhere, so like you have a lot of options in terms of customization for your character, and you can just come up with some of just the most ridiculous outfits imaginable.
There were a few times that I felt bad because you were like going somewhere, and I would just stop at a store and like, I'm gonna put this on. We had some great ones though. Like there was a while that I was running around in like a hula skirt and a coconut bra.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time that I was running around in like the Borat swimsuit with my
Yeah.
entire hanging out. That was good. And high heels. I had high heels on in that one too.
Mm-hmm.
You were in a dress at one point. It looked swell. What else did we have? I was wearing like a toddler onesie at one point.
Yeah, you were. I ran around in a dinosaur mask for a lot of it. Like
that
the
was
latter half
hilarious.
of it.
You had on a tube top, a mini skirt, cowboy boots, and a dinosaur mask. It was great.
I mean, what else do you want?
Well, it's just great for like all the cutscenes because it would depending on like who triggered the cutscene, it would show like which person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good because there were certain instances where it was just like your freaking mask was cutting through everything, or he's like looking at something and it turns out that he's actually like eating it with his dinosaur mouth. It was fantastic. And that was one of my favorite parts, was us just finding new outfits and running around.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a website up for a while that was just like a list of outfits in the game. I'm like, all right, this is good. I ran around as Elvis for a while, which like makes the main character's name is Chuck, right?
Yes, Chuck Green.
Yeah. The Elvis outfit makes Chuck have like a giant bubble butt, which is hilarious.
And
I don't know.
It was like that was around the same time you were just carrying around like 30 guitars with you.
Yeah. The guitars are fun because whenever you like switch them or pick them up or whatever, I go wow.
And I just always hear like, what is going on? But yeah, like the entire premise obviously of the game is like, you're stuck in this zombie apocalypse and you've been framed for it and all that. But also there's a lot of downtime to where you can just around and have some good old times being a good dad.
We were the best dads.
We were the best dads. We gave Katie all the gifts. And by that I mean we just ransacked the entire like shelter and it's like, here you go. Here you go. Here you go.
We basically like filled that room full of junk and it was awesome. But then we also like gave her actual gifts that were like game gifts.
Because it's like,
Except for the tiger, we didn't give her that one.
because like if you do that, it's like a butt ton of XP you get. Or,
Yeah.
excuse me, PP.
PP.
PP. Yeah, so you had that up for a while, or it's like, oh, we need this gift, we need this gift, and we need this gift, which definitely I think helped.
Oh yeah.
In terms of that, which this is kind of a game where you kind of need something like that up, where it's like you need a good thing of like, okay, I need to find this, this, and this, and plan strategies out around that, and having like a good thing up for like, oh, I need to do this to and this to fight this boss, and yada yada yada, because some of them can be kind of challenging at times if you're walking in blind and not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, that mascot with the skates and the flamethrowers was like the most terrifying thing in the universe.
So jump and kick it.
It was so scary.
We fought it twice.
Really, really scary. Yeah, we fought it twice.
The first time it was like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, and just us running back into like the liquor store and just
getting trashed.
Getting immediately trashed and vomiting everywhere while just trying to not to die.
We were just puking and this guy's got flamethrowers. It was awesome.
It's perfect.
That's where I got the toddler outfit.
Yeah, that is definitely where you got that outfit at.
Yep. It was pretty genius.
Ooh.
It was a really, really fun experience for us. Like I just had the like dumb playlist that I usually have up for our Mario Karting up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, we were killing zombies to some A+ gems for a while. I got to learn the intricacies of poker, and I lost my ass.
Apparently, Al does not understand what poker is, so I had to teach her what poker was, and that was a wild experiment. We played poker
I still don't know how to play poker.
We played poker until our daughter turned to a zombie.
Our daughter turned to a zombie. We were bad dads because we were gambling. We couldn't cancel out of it.
We could.
I think that happened. Could we? I thought we
probably could have, but it was the time was so like stringent at that point. It was just like it really didn't matter regardless.
You were doing well. I just don't know how to play poker. I still don't really understand how to play poker, but I think I understand it a little bit better. Maybe.
And then one point we tried to play strip poker.
Right, we did. And I think you lost your shoes.
Yeah, because we were like, oh, this is going to take forever. We need to get out of here.
Yeah. So, moral of the story, poker takes a long time in the game.
It's true.
Although, like, one of the best uses of your time is just, like, going to find survivors.
Just bringing, like, 30 people with you at a time.
Yeah, the only bad part about that is, like, when you have to carry people.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, that one that was trying to, like, start a mutiny.
Like, no.
Yeah, we're just like, no, you can't have a mutiny. He's like, okay, that's fine. I won't start a mutiny anymore. It was ridiculous. There is an actual plot to the game, though.
There is.
Which is, I guess, sort of surprising in certain ways, but also not surprising. Because, like, Dead Rising 1 had a general plot, you know, like, I've covered wars and all that nonsense.
He covers wars, you know.
Which there was a nod to that in Dead Rising 2, which made both of us laugh. But yeah, it was mainly just like us running around with like ridiculous weaponry, murdering everything that we could, and also ourselves, because apparently the one issue with co-op is that you can also injure your friend.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer that like friendly fire is just there constantly. And especially with like some of the way those bosses are, like you both want to get in there and whack at them, but doing so means like one of you are going to get hurt real bad.
Yeah, like you're going to take a nail bat to the face.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing you can do about it. Man.
But it's real cool that like, you know, for a game that's relatively old.
Yeah.
Like 6 or 7 years old at this point now, like that game still holds up really well.
Yeah, I mean, it looked fine. There were funny issues every once in a while that, like, And it might have just been a port thing that, like, while we were playing co-op, there was sometimes like the zombies would just like look like they were on a people mover going towards you, like their legs weren't actually moving.
Mm-hmm. Like that could just been
And
like connectivity thing.
I think it happened with you once,
Yeah.
right? That you saw that happen. It was weird. But I mean, generally it ran fine. It looked fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun to play. It was really fun to play.
Especially with like, the latest release, Dead Rising 4, kind of coming out and being,
Nah.
yeah, coming out to some like meh feelings out of that. Like going back to this and seeing like, oh yeah, this formula still works pretty well,
Yeah.
and they still could make games like this that would work. And this, I guess, I think it's more just like a simpler formula than what they're currently using. I think is the main takeaway from that.
hmm
We didn't go into like any of the other spin-off games that are in the Dead Rising 2 formula, where like obviously the prequel game that came out originally on 360 isn't a part of this bundle, and I don't think that's even out on PS4. Like they didn't bring that over for the re-release. The one where you play as Frank West is available, I believe.
Oh.
Which is like it's him in the same area, and it's like a little bit different story. Like you at one point you fight Chuck because he goes crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of differences there, and I think there's another one as well, but I don't remember exactly what that entails. But yeah, still a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean the funniest part for me though was that I played this back at release and I remembered basically like none of it. And so when we were getting to the end and I was like, "Oh, I remember the plot twist and all that." And it was, it's a real obvious plot twist, but still I didn't remember it at all until we started getting further in. I was like, "Oh, right. That's going to happen."
Cuz I definitely had this at release as well, but I don't think I ever beat it. Or like got that far into it.
I think having two people play it was much easier. Like the boss fight with the two women with samurai swords, I feel like that'd be so hard to do with just one person.
Yeah. And I think like as well, like when I originally played this game, like I didn't really understand the concept like, oh, you're going to have to restart at some point. Like that's just the way this game is. And for me then I was like, if I get stuck, well, I get stuck. And that's it. I guess I'm just stuck, and I didn't really think of like, oh well, if I reset, then everything will be better and all that. But going through it this time around, knowing the way this game works, how that mechanic is very helpful in terms of letting you progress through the game. Like it just made it very free flowing and fun. Let us speed through it.
I really enjoyed stabbing things with a swordfish.
You really did. Mm-hmm. Anytime we'd go through that casino, you're like, oh, where's my fish?
And the bad thing is that you would drop it if anybody hit you. I'm like, no, my fish!
It was the worst part.
It was a good fish. Also, like, that's another thing. You could just, like, pick up fish out of the fountain and, like, Chuck will just pick up this raw fish and just start shoving it into his face. I'm like, oh, God, buddy, no.
It just turns to the Metal Gear Solid 3 at that point.
He like shoves pizzas like straight at his face. It was a really funny game.
Giant
and I don't
things
remember
of ribs.
Right. I was carrying out ribs at one point. You're like, what do you have? I'm like, ribs. I feel like that's kind of like the entirety of our experience is you yelling, what do you have? Or what are you wearing? And I was like, duh, it's this.
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't I have this? It's like, all right.
I feel like that basically sums up the entire experience is you're just like, what?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because I would purposefully try and find like the weirdest things and carry them around. It was fun. If you're going to give me weird things, I'm going to carry them around.
Exactly. Or just dress up in weird outfits and all that stuff.
Like I found a like BDSM store at one point and I was like, all right, I'm going to put this outfit on. You're like, what is that? It was good. It was really good. And I mean, the writing on the game was fun too. So like, there was a lot of really funny moments within the actual like text of it, which is kind of standard Dead Rising to have like a lot of humor in it.
Mhm.
But
Some of it didn't age well, but I mean,
no, some of it didn't. But
I feel like that's just kind of to be expected from that time period. So
yeah, I agree. Man, it was a lot of fun.
it was.
We were good dads.
We were the best dads. What are you talking about?
We were such good dads. We brought her everything. We brought her freaking axes and trash cans and trash bags
Water
and
coolers.
water coolers. I brought her an apple. Just everything. We were bringing her everything. I think like a medical tray,
Pizza.
fire extinguisher.
Anything you could find is going in that
We
room.
we were good dads. And she's looking at us like, all right,
Thanks, Dad.
cool.
I'm
Thanks.
gonna go play
Thanks,
some Mega
Dad.
Man.
Yeah. She was more happy when we were bringing her like robotic bears and
I
stuff.
mean, it's the thought that counts,
It is. We were
right?
trying to be good dads.
No better dads than us.
Except for the fact that like your daughter could see straight up your skirt.
But look, it's not my fault they made that skirt so short, and that my legs were so white.
Yeah, they were really white. Oh man. Oh, and I got to ride in a hamster ball at one point. I
Oh my god, yeah.
was running over zombies with a hamster ball and then it started smoking and it was terrifying.
Oh.
Which again falls into the whole I tried to find the most ridiculous things in the game and use them to my advantage.
Or just you running from packs of zombies squealing.
That happened a lot too.
That happened a lot. Oh, we also kind of broke the game at the end.
Oh, right. That was funny.
Because like there's the final boss encounter, and then like you're supposed to bring up your daughter and the one girl, and then somehow we broke it to where like you were just pulling them up and TK was trying to hit you but not really hitting you, and I was just like
Yeah.
behind him wailing on him.
Yeah, so somehow we glitched and it like didn't really recognize that I was there as like a hittable human being. And so I was just like dragging him up and TK was attacking me, but he wasn't actually hitting me. And so you were just like obliterating him from the back and that's how we won the game.
Because I got him to like half health before like it kind of like got back to its senses. I was like, oh, we can attack you can attack you now, and it's like, oh well, this is way better than our first attempt at this.
Yeah, our first attempt didn't go very well.
Moral of the story is break the game. It'll
Yeah,
make it all better.
somehow make it glitch, which it's kind of cool that we actually got like the true ending on our first go.
It's true.
Because you were asking me like, I don't know which ending we got, and I was like, we got the true ending, buddy.
Like
We did it.
Because I knew like this game had like multiple endings, and I was like, I hope we get like the true one, so like we don't have to go back through and redo it just to get that. But yeah, we knocked it out of the park first time, first
It
try.
was sweet. First try. Nailed it.
Literally,
Yeah, with nail bats.
with a lot of nails. We really kept the nail industry going in that game,
No
and
kidding.
baseball bat industry.
Oh man, it was great because it was right outside the safe house.
And it's such an effective weapon.
Oh, it was so good. It was really, really. I missed my swordfish and also my guitars, but nail bats worked really, really well. And also, you got more PP for it.
BB.
PP.
Well, we were definitely good dads. But how good were we at being the president of the United States?
Awesome.
So yeah, we also recently played through the wonderful Saints Row 4.
Which I had never played any of the Saints Row games, so new experience.
So why not pick the last game in the franchise?
To your, you didn't know that I'd not played any of them,
Right.
so
I knew like I was like this is a co-opable game. That's a word. And it was cheap. So like it would be, at the very least it would just be some dumb fun that we could partake in.
Right.
And boy did we partake in some dumb fun.
Oh, it was hilarious. It was good.
So yeah, like the Saints Row 4 obviously is the last game in the series, coming off the heels of Saints Row 3, which was widely regarded as a just by itself a really good game and the best in the franchise thus far. Like some people still say 2 was the better game, but that's a debatable point, not to talk about here. Also, they just announced today that Saints Row 3 is coming to the Switch.
Okay.
Which is
Why
one of those
3?
like, what? But also like, okay, sure.
Why 3?
It's like the best rated game of the franchise.
Oh, okay.
Also money.
Money, yes.
So there you go. You'll be able to play Saints Row 3 on Switch, which is
cool.
It's a good game. Some good moments in that. But yeah, we played 4, which is just, it really ramps up the ridiculousness of like 2 and 3 and just puts a crescendo on it when it's like, the opening bit of the game is you going through this really ridiculous like terrorist mission, like just a parody of all the Call of Duty style games and missions that were happening at that point, because this game came out in 2013. So like that was like, no, I think that was even like past the peak of Call of Duty and all those brown shooters that had kind of populated the 360 PS3 era. But it still works as a good goof. And then there's the really dumb moment where you're climbing up a nuclear missile while
Aerosmith plays.
Aerosmith plays.
I don't want to close my eyes.
The song from Armageddon.
Yep. It's I don't want to miss a thing is the name of the song. It's terrible. I hate Aerosmith.
But that moment is real good.
No, it was a good moment. It was funny because like we had not had a character select at that point, so it's just like generic guy there. Mm-hmm. Also, the terrorists had like really nice lamps.
Yeah, they did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I love those lamps. But yeah, we climbed up a missile and Aerosmith played.
And then we fell down from the missile and landed in the White House, and I guess we're just the president of the United States then.
Yep.
Which is just a real good goof. Like, oh, of course this would happen. Like, why not?
Sure.
And
then they let you have access to a character creator.
Oh boy, do they ever!
Letting you have access to a character creator is always a mistake.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's very good. Like, there's some wonderful things you can do with that character creator. You can make some just, great looking characters within it.
Your goal is always just make them look as horrendous as humanly possible.
Yeah, of course. Because why not?
I was like, I'm going to make somebody pretty.
And then I was like, I just messed with all the sliders and put them all to max or low and just was like, all right, let's go. And then my guy's just like, huge face and just big eyes. Also, they were cat eyes.
His like nose area was like sunken in.
I had the Groose pompadour.
So you just gotten off playing Skyward Sword, so you had a Groose hair. Oh my god, it was monstrosity. This is why people shouldn't. And I think you like amped up the sexy factor like all the way.
I made that dong as big as possible, but it couldn't make that butt any bigger, which is the real shame.
Nothing for your butt. You had the flattest butt ever.
The flattest butt.
It was really, really upsetting. Especially when, like, there are several scenes where I had to see it.
Please don't judge my naked flat butt that I had.
I judged the heck out of your naked flat butt because there wasn't a butt slider. Get good, game. Get a butt slider.
But yeah, we made our fantastic characters.
Mm-hmm. Yours
And
was Nolan North, and mine was Laura Bailey.
yeah, because there's just a voice option. It's like, male 1, male 2, male 3, Nolan North,
Yeah.
which is just real dumb, and also just gives you like, he has, I think, some just like his own specific lines that are a little bit off the general script.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, after that, you are just in the White House making decisions.
Like, do you want a party?
Of course, you want a party.
Yeah, we picked yes.
You can only pick one of these. Do you want to end world hunger or destroy cancer? Do you want to punch a dude in the face or punch him in the
You went for the.
Well, the option is like punch a in the head or punch a real good. Also, you learn that your vice president is just Keith David.
Keith David.
That's perfect. Keith David's great. Got that lovely voice. And it just
we
goes
get
crazy.
invaded.
We get invaded by aliens because of course.
Yep.
So you fight this big old alien named Zinyak, and you're like, oh, we can beat this guy up, and then like you get teleported to the 50s.
Which, man, my skirt was weird. Because like the way that the skirt works is that it's like animated as pants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like your skirt works as big weird pants. It was odd, but yeah, we're in the 50s and we were dancing a lot.
Couldn't cuss.
Mm-mm.
Had to drive the speed limit.
Mm-mm. But yeah, I thought it was funny. We were dancing the whole time.
And then eventually you get broken out of that, and then it's like, oh well, you're in the
Earth's
simulation.
been destroyed.
Do what?
Earth's been destroyed.
Oh yeah, and Earth gets destroyed at some point. It's all real bad. You just basically have to go through the simulation and find your friends.
And mess it up so that we can get to Zinyak.
Mm-hmm. So basically it kind of becomes like this huge parody of like Mass Effect in a sense, where you have this, big spaceship, you have a bunch of just like characters around that or meeting and all that sort of stuff. And then also they parody the romance system from those BioWare games.
Yep, Keith David would not bang us.
And by parody, I mean they just have a button that's like, oh, you want to romance someone, and it just lets you them.
Yep.
Which is
like
hilarious.
The first time that I went to Kinsey, and I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to romance
because you
Kinsey.
didn't know what that meant. I was like, oh, you should go romance Kinsey.
No, I didn't know. And so I went to press romance, and my character just like, hey, Kinsey, want to f***? And she's like, yeah, and then jumps on me. And I'm like, oh, okay. That was easy.
That's it.
And then from then on, I just banged everybody that came on the ship. And sometimes it was like, I felt terrible afterwards.
But Keith David still wouldn't us.
He wouldn't. Every time we went and we asked him, and he's like, no, man, I'm your VP. We're good.
It's a darn shame.
He didn't want to bang us. I wonder if it was in his contract. No Keith David banging. I
mean, obviously, if you're gonna like go full on to like the parody of like Mass Effect, like of course you're gonna get Keith David because he plays a character in those games.
It's
perfect.
But he's just Keith David.
But he's just Keith David, and it's even better.
God, it's so funny.
Oh man. Obviously, one of the big things that they changed from Saints Row 3 to Saints Row 4 is that Saints Row 3 still in that same system of like quasi GTA clone, but they're doing, obviously the Saints Row spin has changed since the first one, which was just strictly a GTA clone, and they went full bore more into like wacky, goofy shit, but open world game. With Saints Row 4, they basically made Crackdown.
Yeah.
They made Crackdown 3 before Crackdown 3.
Which is great because I like the original Crackdown. I thought it was fun to just like be super powered through a city.
Yeah, so you get a bunch of just like superpowers and to where it makes like, it basically almost makes guns completely useless. It makes cars completely useless because you can just fly.
Well, and the funniest part to me is that you always knew when I was around because if there were no enemies, then you would just see stuff flying everywhere on the screen if
And
I was around.
explosions.
And I would say if there were enemies around, then everything was exploding everywhere all the time.
There would be explosions happening, and I'd be like, look over, like, I'd look over and see Al just doing She would just be, like, maniacally giggling.
Oh
real
yeah, I have
good.
a weird way of giggling whenever I get like real into that kind of stuff. It's like I'm sitting there blowing things up and like it's good. But you always knew. You would see a light pole go fly and you're like, oh, you're nearby, aren't you? I'm like, yeah.
So good. So dang good.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't realize that I had those tendencies when you agreed to play this game with me.
I was unaware of this, but now have woefully learned.
Hilarious.
So
You'll never play another co-op game with me ever
that's
again.
a lie. We will play. We will continue to play co-op games. Also, you can obviously, like Dead Rising, you can have some wacky costumes that you can make or that are pre-assembled for you if you want to do, which obviously we definitely took advantage of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, my first outfit was basically just like me if I were in a game like this, and then my second outfit was like anime shoujo outfit.
They just have those. There's like
And
a
then
shonen
my
and a
third
shoujo one.
yeah, my third one was like a Rainbow Bright knockoff. It
I
was
don't
great.
remember what my first one was.
Your first one. Hmm. I only have pictures of the 50s outfit and the shonen outfit.
Yeah. The shonen outfit is just goofy because you just look like an edgelord.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like basically if Cloud were in this game.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Buster Sword is in this game, so it works.
It's true. It's Cloud from Advent Children, but like with some extra details.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember what the first outfit was.
That's
it was
tragic.
dumb, obviously. I remember that because, of course, it was dumb.
You had a kitty backpack.
I had a kitty backpack. I remember that. Yeah, I don't remember it. It was dumb. But the third one, I just made myself into Goku.
You did, and it was funny because your hair would just fuse through all the like cars that we had to use on the airplanes or whatever.
Because I was just like scrolling through all these outfits, and I was like, yeah. And there was like a Cobra Kai inspired one. I was like, that would be funny to wear. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put that on. Okay. And then I was scrolling through like hair options or like hat options, and then one of them was just literally Super Saiyan hair. I was like, oh, I'm putting that on. Of course I'm putting that on. And I had that, and like I was waiting for you to finish up, and I was like, wait, I can recolor this outfit. And then I went back in and recolored it to look like Goku's gi, and it was just perfect.
It was ridiculous because I was still getting dressed, and then when I came out, it was just like, no, no.
It was so good.
Everybody's Goku.
It was so good.
We actually didn't do most of the main story until the very end.
A lot of it we were just like around doing side quests and activities. And yeah, we literally halfway through got all the collectibles because, well, it helped as well because like we would just go around from mission to mission and would, go to a new area and be like, all right, we're just gonna fly around and get all these collectibles. And then eventually you get like a collectible finder, and then like after that we were just like, all right, we're just gonna, we're in between missions. Let's take time and then get all these collectibles done, knock them out of the way.
It's basically like when you save Matt, you get the collectible thing,
and it just like populates all the collectibles on your map that you can just go and find them, and it makes it real easy and simple to find.
It's hilarious.
And you become overpowered.
Yeah, we were super OP by the end.
It was real good.
I was blowing everything up. It was great.
There's some just really goofy things that game does, especially with like the missions where you have to like get people. where like it plays into like just a variety of different, just tropes that video games do in general.
Yep.
Like, you'll find like text adventures here and there. We got to learn about fan fiction at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, we got to meet our evil clone.
Oh, right.
That was full of Metal Gear Solid references.
Yeah. I think Matt was the weirdest of everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Matt was so weird.
We got to fight a giant soda can.
We did get to fight a giant soda can. We got to sing karaoke of Opposites Attract.
That's real good. Like, that's the thing they've done in, like, I think in previous games. I know they did it in 3. They may have done it in 2 as well. But, like, that's just, like, a real good goof that they do in these games. Because, like, of course you have this licensed music for, players to have. Like, why not just go with that and do something with it? It's really, really good.
It was really good.
One point you just go back to Saints Row 1, which is wild. And then, like, the way they bring back Johnny Gat via Streets of Rage parody.
That was really
and it's
funny.
Brilliant. Like, it plays like a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and
it does.
It's really good.
We became strippers at one point.
We did become strippers at one point.
Yeah. That was interesting because you had to shake your flat butt.
I had to shake my flat butt along with QuickTime events.
We had to do like BDSM chariot race.
Oh god, that was part of the Interdenominatrix DLC, which I hadn't played either of those DLCs, even though I had played 4 when it came out, and boy howdy are those DLCs something. Like, obviously, if you don't know the story, like, Interdenominatrix was supposed to be like its own standalone thing after Saints Row 3. Eventually, it got turned into Saints Row 4, and then they basically kind of just remade it with this DLC, and then they get real meta with it. They're like, yeah, they basically go into all of that within the DLC, and there are cutscenes that are just like storyboards.
Yep.
Which is real, real good. Man.
We got to fling furries into cages.
We did.
And ride velociraptors out into the sunset at one point.
Velociraptors out. And then, like, the other DLC is literally like, how the Saints save Christmas. And it's a Christmas DLC.
Where you fight an evil Santa. It's like Santa. Futurama.
Man.
Which, that one had some, like, really terrible things in that, like, playing it co-op, you can't both collect everything.
Yeah, that was real bad.
It was really stupid.
Because, like, obviously with everything else, like, if you got a collectible, it'd be like, oh, your co-op partner got this collectible that you missed, but it's going to count towards you.
Yeah.
So it's fine. With this, it would just be like, oh, well, you got this, the other person did it, and it's just not going to count to them, which is a real big bummer.
Because that way, neither of us were able to get, like, all the things in the Christmas DLC. I missed out on a present trophy because of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was dumb. It was really dumb. But there were a lot of glitches in this game that were really dumb.
It was strange. We talked about this earlier, obviously, with how this game was at the end of the life cycle for the 360 and PS3, or not life cycle, but like right before the new consoles came out. And it had some problems on that generation of hardware, but I don't remember it having that much problems. The same that we had with the way this port is, where we had weird issues with just trying to make a co-op game at points, to where like just having you connect over. I had like 2 hard crashes. You had 1.
I had 1.
And yeah, it was real strange. Like, just the game was like kind of just like jittery at points, and
and then like a lot of the waypoints just wouldn't populate, or like
some of
if
the
I
quests
took a
just
mission...
didn't work. Like, were real wonky in that way. Where if like if you did something, there's times where like maybe I wouldn't get credit for it, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And there were some that it's like, I can't even get these quests that they register as your request, but like I still got credit for them, but it was weird because I couldn't actually like sign up for them. It was like, all right.
And that made it wonky to where like you missed out on 2 trophies that you totally did everything for.
Yeah, I missed 2 trophies. even though I did everything that you did. I'm just dumb.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Like, that's the only downside, I think, to this game, or at least this port of the game, is that, like, at least for us, playing it cooperatively, it was weirdly weird and wonky kind of performance-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a shame, because, like, this game is real fun and goofy, and to have those kind of problems just, like, is never fun.
Yeah, it was frustrating, but like the game itself is it's a fun game and it's got really funny moments. But yeah, it got really frustrating a few times that there were so many dumb things that were happening in terms of just glitching. And I'm still a little salty that I actually did all the stuff for those trophies and didn't get them because I don't typically care about trophies that much. But if I did the work and didn't get it, then I'm a little mad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which, I mean, guess it's the same with Dead Rising. I did the work and I didn't get credit for it, but whatever.
But you knew going in that, like, there was potential for, like, that to happen.
I knew that in Dead Rising. I
right,
didn't
yeah, that's what I mean.
Here.
With here, it was like, well, you were not aware that might be a problem.
And I got the rest of them, so it didn't make any sense. It's just those two characters. It's like, no, you can't have these. It's fine. I'm like, oh. So, one thing that was a little annoying to me, and this is kind of just a personal gripe, is it does the thing that like every video game does, and that like everybody has huge boobs for no reason.
Right.
And even like I tried to do like the slider on mine to make mine smaller, and it's still like you have huge boobs. Like, that's not what I asked for. Thanks.
I think a lot of that is kind of like just the carryover from those original games.
Yeah.
Which, came out, and I think the first game came out in like 06. And then 2 was about like 08-ish. Something like that. Where it was just like, if they're making a GTA clone, you have to have that.
Yeah.
And like that's just like kind of that bad carry on that permeated through the series. But yeah, I completely see what you're saying.
Like, one of the moments that it really hit me in the face was with Kinsey when she was like wearing the jumpsuit and everything. She was fine. And then like she got this other outfit and it had a boob window and it was just like massive boobs. I'm like, where did those come from? You didn't have those. So that was an irritation for me, but also, who gave the direction to give Yuri Lowenthal a British accent? Because they should be fired.
Oh, boy.
Yuri is a fantastic voice actor. One of my favorites. Legitimately one of my favorites. Don't let him do a British accent. Period. End of story. The end.
I think the only like way that works, though, is that character you're supposed to feel like is just a huge piece of shit. And that accent really pushes it.
You cringe. Like, literally everything about him is cringy. And, like, the accent helps that cringy just take it to the next level. He also has zero butt. Probably a negative butt.
I mean, everyone kind of has zero butt in this game. At least the male characters.
I would say male characters. But, like, Matt's is kind of concave at points. It was really tragic because we actually had to see his butt since he was, like, naked.
Well, you pretty much saw a lot of people naked in this game. Naked and gooey.
Yeah, we did see a lot of gooey.
Which my character made it even better because he was naked, gooey, and all full of baby oil.
Baby oil,
for
some reason.
80s pro wrestler.
You picked the baby oil option.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God.
Get me all greased up. Gotta look good for the cameras.
Baby oil. It was fun though.
It really was.
Overall, it was fun. I enjoyed playing it. I think one thing that I would have added into it is being able to randomize the music.
Yeah, like there is a mixtape option, but it kind of just plays everything in order that you put it in at, which is a bit of a bummer.
But it was funny for me because it was like 80s music, 80s music, 80s music, 80s music, classical, 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 and it was a very on-brand mixtape there.
True. But yeah, like there's some just weird in this game. Like, one of the things that you were very confused by was when they start parroting "They Live."
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
The '80s John Carpenter film starring professional wrestler Roddy Piper and also featuring Keith David.
Yeah, I tried to shoot him at one point. You're like, don't kill Roddy Piper. I'm like, who is that?
Like,
Who?
when I first saw that, I was like, holy they're parroting They Live. Like, that's crazy. But also, like, a thing of, like, how much of your audience is going to understand this reference?
Yeah.
And also the fact that, like, at the end, you realize, like, there's been, like, a narrator, like, kind of popping up here and there throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the game, they reveal who the narrator is because they gained, like, the power to, like, just go back in time and grab people. And, like, oh, by the way, here's the narrator. It's Jane Austen.
That was hilarious.
Which is ridiculous.
Who also had huge cans for no reason. But I did not realize that Jane Austen was going to be the narrator. I was like, what?
I remembered that, like, it was someone, like, from, like, literature that was the narrator. I just couldn't remember who it was.
Because there's one throw-off reference about how much your main character loves Jane Austen. There's one reference.
Which, look, hey, I want to know how big of a fan the boss is of Jane Austen. If they haven't read the manga version of Pride and Prejudice, like, get the out of here. Which is terrible.
Really. It was funny because it seemed like a goof reference, and then like by the end, I'm like, oh, that's why they threw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was really A+.
Yeah,
that was a good payoff there.
It's really goofy.
That I was not expecting to have.
Also, you get a dubstep gun.
You do get a dubstep gun. It's real
great. The dubstep gun is fantastic. There's also like a DLC version that they made. Apparently at some point where it has like just different songs. Like the default version for that is like it literally just plays Ride of the Valkyries.
It was good.
Real good.
I was so confused a few times, like when you first got it, because I was like, "Where is Ride of the Valkyries even coming from?" And then I realized it was you.
It is me.
The Ride of the Valkyries.
Also, the dildo bat is very powerful.
It is super powerful. We spent probably a solid 10 minutes just knocking each other off of a platform with a dildo bat.
Real dumb.
Well, are we gonna have to edit that word?
What?
Dildo.
It's not like a curse word or anything.
I just wasn't sure, but yeah, it was a solid 10 minutes of us standing like up above the city and just like whacking each other with it, trying to see how far we could launch. It was pretty funny.
And with like superpowers and everything, it's just like you just go flying,
and then ragdoll physics.
Yeah,
it's like basically 700 meters away after getting one hit from the dildo bat. Hilarious.
It's really good.
Super funny.
So yeah, that's Saints Row 4 in a nutshell. We kind of talked about this a little bit while we were playing it, but like obviously Saints Row hasn't returned since then. Like Volition made Agents of Mayhem, which was kind of in the same vein, but like a little bit different, like of a game. And that game it came and it very much quickly went, and didn't really do much. They also released like a standalone expansion to 4 called Gat Out of Hell, which takes place where like it puts Johnny Gat and Kenzie in hell, and you play with them and have to like get out of hell. I've played a little bit of that. The only thing I remember of that is like the first character that you get or you meet and become you team up with is William Shakespeare.
Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Wow.
But yeah, like they haven't really done anything with the Saints Row franchise since 4. And that was 5 years ago yesterday was the release of Saints Row 4. Well, when we're recording this, it'll be a few more days afterwards when this goes up. But yeah, and especially just with the way this game is, like it's hard to picture or imagine a way of, okay, where do you go next with this franchise? Because you just gave everyone superpowers and
became the president.
And became the president, and also just basically make them gods by the end of it. By having like this unlimited alien technological power. Like, where do you go from there? Like, there's not really like any easy answer to that. They're like, oh, well, you're going to have to go do this and this as like a sequel. Like, it's hard to imagine there ever being like a Saints Row 5 that follows the story.
Right.
Like maybe it happens, and like I feel like Volition probably would be able to do it, but at the same time, that would be such an incredibly difficult challenge to do. Like, it would probably make more sense to just like reboot the franchise and like, keep like the the goofiness and all that sort of stuff, but just bring in a bunch of just new characters, a new town, new villains, all that sort of stuff, and maybe like rein back a little bit on like having superpowers, like make it a little bit more like Saints Row 3 in that aspect. But obviously none of that has happened thus far, so who knows if we'll ever see another Saints Row game or not. Shrug shoulders.
No idea.
Yeah.
It was fun though, and it was a good first experience with it. Other than the game breaking glitches.
Yeah, like I'm glad that like this game still holds up as just like as a good comedy game.
Yeah.
Which I think like there's so many like at the time there were so many open world games like that trend has continued through 2018. But there's not a lot of like big style games like this that are just like more comedy focused. Or if they are like, we have this issue with like other media like anime where a lot of games, a lot of anime, a lot of just media in general that tries to promote itself as comedy, like we're just like no.
Yeah, no, pass.
We're not, that's not what we're into. But like when we get that type of media that works and like just fits for us, like it's so good and so genuine, and also just kind of rare for us as well. I think that like when it works, and it's such an enjoyment to have that type of comedy, and you just don't really see that much of it in video games specifically.
Tragic.
It's definitely one of those things where I just wish there was like more of it.
No, I agree. Like I don't want an oversaturation of it, but
Right.
I also just want more of it because like this, for the most part, like most of the humor was like right on spot for me. Like some of it didn't hit, but that's also, just who I am as a person. But for the most part, like it really, really hit with me in terms of comedy, and that's very, very rare for video games because let's be real, video games take themselves too seriously a lot.
And it's probably really hard to write video game like comedy in video games.
Well, especially with one like this where it's like you don't have a set character and like you have to do all kinds of like random things, and there's stuff that you can miss.
And especially for a game like this, like you can go in this direction where you just crank up the ridiculousness, but you can also just do that and make it too ridiculous.
Yeah, like at what point do you get to the like LOL random MySpace
Right,
humor?
exactly, yeah. Like that's a very hard and thin line to walk. But this game really does it well.
I agree.
Big yawns.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yawn.
Ralph Buddies.
Ralph Buddy. Big yawns.
But yeah, like hopefully maybe one day there will be Saints Row will return at some point, but if they try to go from this story, I think it'll be extremely difficult. But if they decide like, hey, we're gonna make a new thing in the Saints Row formula, like I would be very interested in that.
Yeah, now that I've played this, I'd be interested.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Okay.
How interested would you be to play 3 with that coming to Switch? Which is obviously, here's another thing. That hasn't been re-released on PS4 or Xbox One. So which makes it coming to Switch even more strange. But yeah, how obviously 3 is a little bit more grounded because there's no superpowers, but it is like it's more like GTA, but just with the same style of ridiculousness.
I don't know. The fact that it's closer to GTA is kind of a.
Well, I mean, in terms of like you're using guns and everything to shoot enemies. Like obviously you're going to have cars and stuff, but also like at one point they just give you a bunch of like jets and shit, to where like it just makes like having an actual vehicle kind of mundane again.
I don't know. Like I said, I'd have to think about that one
Yeah.
because that kind of gameplay isn't really like I played the most recent Grand Theft Auto and I thought it was fun, but like it's not a thing that I'm like dying to
I mean, I
play.
wouldn't necessarily say like the gameplay. Like the gameplay of 3 is very similar to 4, just without superpowers.
But the superpowers was
That's
hilarious.
true. That's that.
I got to
Yeah,
blow
yeah.
everything up.
You could blow up a lot of as well. Like you have rocket launchers, and you would get unlimited ammo at one point because all that power up system like from the game, like where it was like how much damage you'll take and all that stuff. Like that's straight from 3.
Do you also have a creator character there?
Yes, you do.
Hmm. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe I watch some videos and see.
But yeah,
It's just not generally the type of gameplay that I'm like a fan.
but this is a good one.
It's good. I liked it, other than the glitches.
Yeah. But yeah, like these are 2 games from quite a few years
A
ago.
bygone era.
A bygone era. 5+ years ago. That you can find on current platforms. Obviously not Switch, but for the most part, you can usually find them relatively cheap. Like if you hold out for a sale, you could probably find them for a couple bucks, because that's how
Yeah,
much
I
we
think
paid for them.
yeah, we didn't pay much at all.
And for that amount of money, like you are getting quite the value, and with
It's worth
both
it.
of these games.
Definitely worth it.
And also, if you have a friend, like pick up a friend and play these games with them. It'll make it a much more enjoyable experience.
I think that that's a lot of what made it so fun was playing like with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been a whole different experience if I had played it by myself.
Right,
Either
yeah.
of these games.
I think it's a very fair critique. Games are more fun when you play them together.
Well, depending on the game, but yes,
Some games are
agree.
more fun when you play them together.
Yes, agree.
Moral of the story.
Get friends.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to wrap this episode up then.
All right. I'm looking forward to which image you pick for this.
There are good choices for both, so it's going to be a very tough decision.
Several good choices.
Oh, boy. But hello, if you would like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on the site, like the Seasonal Anime Checkup and Jared and Al Watch, and you can find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you want more from Ann Ladium, go to annladium.com, where she has columns and reviews on her site. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. It's where we retweet stuff. And you can support this Patreon, or support this podcast on Patreon, not support this Patreon podcast. Support this podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA, if you'd like to give us $1. Be like, wow, this podcast is so good. It's the best.
It's true.
It's the best around. Nothing's going to ever keep you down.
Very good.
Next week, we will talk about something. I don't know.
I feel like we do this every week now. We'll talk about something.
Yeah, we were very much like just fly of our pants booking this podcast. I don't know. We might just talk about Randomizer next week,
Maybe. We'll see.
because we've been playing a lot of that.
Yeah, we have.
So look forward to whatever we have next week. It'll be a wonderful doozy of an episode. Episode 90 next week.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Real old.
Yeah.
But yeah, look forward to whatever great stuff we do next week. And until then, play some good co-op games. They're fun.
Get a friend.
Get a friend.